Okay, good morning, Babylon. It's Kinninigan. We're going to have a little lecture here, and I'm going to be going through this information quite quickly. This is about the arcane and black magic founding of our Federal Reserve System. There have been a lot of people in the alternative media who've tried to tackle this subject, including a book that I will give you a link to called The Creature of Jekyll Island. But I don't think anyone has gotten it right. And in my defense, it's the same thing like when studying the Illuminati and secret societies. I tell people if you're not going to go full reptilian, you're never going to find the truth. And the same thing applies to what happened at the Federal Reserve and Jekyll Island. Because of all things, this involves not only black magic, child sacrifice, but quite possibly, of all things, it revolves around one of the quote unquote monstrous races, as called by Rome, or what I have decided now is probably one of what we call or refer to the Nephilim, which now the Nephilim is a separate video subject I will do, but I will be going over one of those entities in this video. This is a website that I'm at called The Meeting at Jekyll Island. Not going to get the truth off this website. Obviously, they're going to give you the mainstream narrative. But there are some things that I found out through years of occult research and some realities about what actually happened on Jekyll Island. So I'm going to be going through the information quite quickly. There's an old thing that one of the things that I use as a baseline for my research is I keep in the back of my mind, the truth does not require your approval. So I don't need to be fact checked and what allows me to do these lectures is that I do not lie. A lot of people in this industry do. Then they got to backtrack and go say, well, what did I say about reptilians 5 years ago? Well, I don't have to do that. I don't need to go through my old lectures and see what I said because I know what I said. And my information, if it changes, I know that it changes and it evolves just like I do with this research. So the hardest part with this is just pulling up all the links that I'm going to use, but I do not write scripts for these videos. This is all off the top of my head. There's a reason why people refer to me as the walking library of occult knowledge, and that's the truth. But what I don't have is financial rewards for what I do because you're about to find out really what moves the financial system within the United States and the world, specifically fiat money created by the Federal Reserve. I do not engage in black magic. I do not invoke demons for financial gain. So if you'd like to buy me a pack of cigarettes today, I'd appreciate it. I do need cigarettes, and I do need catnip, so I'm trying to raise like $33 for that. Good Illuminati number right there. So we're at this website. Don't worry, I'm not going to read this article. It's too early in the morning. People would fall asleep if I read this article to you. This is the mainstream um, definition of what happened at Jekyll Island. Jekyll Island is an island off the coast of Georgia in the United States. And if you're not familiar with, I would say that movie was made quite a while ago. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. If you're familiar with that book or the movies, that's going to come into play in a second. Why is it called Jekyll Island? The plot gets strange. And this, by the end of the video, you're going to find out something else, which I tell you a lot of Freemasons are pushing bullshit propaganda about the war with Iran right now. I'm telling you right now, the war with Iran has nothing to do with nuclear weapons, the security of Israel. You really think that a bunch of Jews are going to take down the Persian Empire that's been here for a long time? No, I'll tell you what's really going on with the war in Iran. There are Masonic lodges in Iran. There's Masonic lodges in Israel. And there's Masonic lodges all throughout Europe, Britain, and the United States. The war with Iran right now has nothing to do with nuclear weapons. It's about crashing the petrodollar so they can usher in World War III, which ultimately leads into the abomination of desolation, which, if you know your biblical terms, that is the Antichrist. Period. And I figured out how they're going to do it. So please share, like, subscribe. I do not monetize my videos. And so yesterday, I had a sub ask me about George Soros making a mockery of how he manipulates world financial markets with black magic. So, like I said, the truth does not require your approval. These people tell it to you right to your face and mock you. So, what did George Soros, and remember, he is a high level Zionist. And yeah, he's also kind of a product of World War II. We know what that was about, setting up the political state of Israel, because that's going to come into play also. So yesterday, George Soros was mocking the idea that they use abracadabra to manipulate world financial markets. Well, there was some abracadabra going on with the founding of the Federal Reserve also, and things get strange. So if you could support the channel, Cash App, PayPal, Vemno is all in the description. And this is what George Soros said yesterday in that video I made for one of my subs.
Made a big mistake when they tried to change
He's
the
talking about
behavior
alchemists
of
right here.
metals by abracadabra. They should have gone into the financial markets because there you actually can change the sequence of events by abracadabra.
And abracadabra, there's a few different. Look, one of my subs responded. It's actually a Hebrew word. From what I understand, it's also Aramaic, and It's got a very long history. It's got different meanings throughout different ancient texts, but it's mainly revolves around the occult. It means I create as I speak, and that is the foundation of black magic, is to impose your will on Mother Nature herself. And everything I'm about to teach you revolves around Templar banking and the Rothschilds and how they created debt slaves. And of course, around this time, you have this Federal Reserve meeting. This is the same time, remember, that they blackballed Nikola Tesla for wanting to give the world free energy. Why is that important? Because what is our fiat money based off of? Oil. It's called the petrodollar. So if you see where I'm going with this, it's not that hard to figure out. You just got to have a little faith. And we're going to be going through some bizarre shit here. So, all right, I'm going to be moving. So rather than read this article, which would probably bore everyone to death, I found a video. It's just going to go over the history of the creation of the Federal Reserve, and then I'm going to tell you what really happened on this island and what's really on this island here. And why is it called Jekyll Island of all things? Yeah, things are going to get very strange. And this is by the way, this YouTube channel is the Atlanta Fed. This was made 15 years ago. This is not an AI video. This is the mainstream narrative. They're telling you, like, what happened here. This is a Rothschild's house that was built on a specific spot on Jekyll Island, and I'll explain why after this video.
Meetings can have lasting meaning, and a meeting on Jekyll Island, Georgia 100 years ago this month was an important moment in the evolution of U.S. central banking. That meeting is also the reason for the gathering here today. An important outcome of the 1910 meeting was a proposal for an institution with multiple branches, which became in part the model for the decentralized structure of the Federal Reserve System. A series of financial panics, culminating in the Panic of 1907, prompted Congress to undertake a series of steps toward reforming the nation's monetary system to promote macroeconomic stabilization. Congress passed the Aldrich-Vreeland Act in 1908, establishing an 18-member National Monetary Commission chaired by Rhode Island Senator Nelson Aldrich. The commission was charged with finding a way to reform the nation's monetary system, but progress was slow, and by 1910, the commission could not agree on a plan. Aldrich took matters into his own hands, meeting with a group of bankers on Jekyll to formulate a plan. The group included bankers Paul Warburg, Henry Davidson, and Frank Vanderlip. Also present were Aldrich's secretary, Arthur Shelton, and A. Piet Andrew, a Treasury official. Warburg's attendance was critical because of his knowledge of European banking practices. Aldrich was well aware that his meeting with bankers outside of the commission proceedings would
If you haven't figured it out, these are all high-level Luciferian Zionists, okay?
generate controversy, which is why the group met at the remote Jekyll Island location. What emerged from the Jekyll meeting was the so-called Aldrich Plan, presented to the National Monetary Commission as a legislative blueprint. It became a catalyst for debate about the role of the government and banking in the central bank's governance. Representing a departure from the centralized governments of European central banks, the plan proposed that a National Reserve Association would function as the U.S. Central Bank. The association would consist of a federation of 15 regional bank associations, each to be presided over by boards of directors elected by the local banks. Aldrich's proposed central bank would promote economic stability by providing for greater financial stability. Though the bill Aldrich put forward to the U.S. Senate in January 1912 was not acted on, many of the proposals that came out of the Jekyll meeting remained at the core of the subsequent steps in the creation of the Federal Reserve. After the election of Woodrow Wilson in 1912, Congressman Carter Glass of Virginia, who had led an investigation into the concentration of power on Wall Street, assumed leadership of monetary reform, along with Senator Robert L. Owen. The Glass-Owen bill kept the key macroeconomic stabilization mechanisms of the Aldrich Plan, but provided for 8 to 12 districts with a reserve bank in each district. The difference that stood out the most was the governance of the central bank. The debate about a U.S. central bank had been mired in counter-arguments about who would control the system.
All right, I want you to remember that. There was debates going on about a central bank, and people were opposed to it. And this is a very historical event and a mass human sacrifice that would happen right after this meeting. And you know what that event was. I'll talk about it in a second.
Bankers are appointed government officials. One compromise to resolve this disagreement involved reserve bank governance. Of the 9-member Reserve Bank Board of Directors, only 3 could be bankers. The others were to be engaged in commerce, industry, or agriculture. Another was that the Federal Reserve Board in Washington, D.C. would be the oversight and coordinating agency. The reconciled bill was passed as the Federal Reserve Act and signed into law by President Wilson in 1913. The 12 reserve banks opened about a year later.
And Woodrow Wilson was a Freemason. Let's just get that out of the way. Of course he was. So, on paper, this sounds good. This is the mainstream narrative where they make it. Of course, they make it sound good. They try to make everything sound good because that's all these people do is lie and bullshit people. Just like they're telling you right now, the war with Iran is over nuclear weapons. That I'm going to do a video about nuclear weapons. Okay, that's another subject, but it's not over nuclear weapons because if it was, why are they not attacking North Korea? Oh, that's right, because nothing that going on in the Korean peninsula influences the petrodollar. Where does all the oil come from? Yeah, the Middle East. How convenient. So if you see where I'm going at with that one. So they have this meeting in 1910. We'll talk about what... now, before I show you what was actually on and why it's called Jekyll Island and what was really going on here, here's a few facts that we're going to bring up. 33-degree Freemason Albert Pike had his plan to usher in the Antichrist, the abomination of desolation, the third temple in Jerusalem. That's where the Antichrist is going to sit and deceive and kill all the Jews. It's written in the book of Revelation. They also talk about Zionists in the book of Revelation. They are referred to as the fake Jews or the synagogue of Satan. So in 1871, look at the dates here. 1871, Albert Pike predicts the 3 world wars. He predicts the First World War, the Second World War, which is going to be to set up the political state of Israel, and the Third World War, which we're approaching right now. And one of the ways that what they need to happen for the Third World War to start is America needs to descend into chaos. Because quite honestly, no other country on this planet right now can invade the United States successfully. However, what they can do is crash the petrodollar and make everyone go into it. And once the gas is gone, once all the food is gone, once we can't buy anything anymore, and we don't get to live our nice American lifestyle, which it should be better than it is. This country's been here 250 years. Have we really made any progress? No, we haven't. We would have been in a lot better shape too if they allowed Nikola Tesla to give everyone free energy. Then you hear all these people with their bullshit climate change stuff. Yeah, they can go shove that agenda. There's a reason why they won't let us talk about the climate change scam on YouTube. I wonder why. Because that's all these people have. Is when people start finding out the truth about what the truth is that Zionists are planning, then all they want to do is call you conspiracy theorists and point fingers, but they can't control the information anymore. So in order to get World War III to really kick off, they want to bring America to the point where the civilians in the United States uprise against the government, saying we've had enough of your bullshit. We're done. When that happens, that will allow the government to then crack down on dissenters and throw us into Camp FEMA and start executing us, as per what was outlined in Rex 84. And this is what Agenda 2030 is. The mass roundup specifically of Christians, Catholics like me, and our execution. And they also want to have the Islamic world go against Israel, and Christians fight against Islam. Yeah, so you get the idea. In which they will unite the world under the full doctrine of Lucifer. It's right here, universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer. This is about ushering in the Antichrist period. So how are they going to do it? Well, they created the petrodollar. Now, the petrodollar was less important for the first two world wars, although it was important to a degree. However, it's going to be more important for the Third World War because they need the United States to descend into chaos. This is what all their friggin' bullshit agendas have been for the past few years. The woke agenda, the attack against real women. Why, they want people pissed off. I made a video the other day telling you about the lost feeding and all the negative news stories that were going on in my YouTube feed. There's a reason for this. Now you're starting to see what it is, aren't you? They want people descending into chaos and losing their shit for a reason. Because they can't conquer us unless we're all divided. So, what else happened right after the meeting of the Federal Reserve in 1910? 1912. We had the RMS Titanic, which was, this is important, a British ocean liner. April 15th, 1912, the Titanic sank. Why is that important? Well, you heard in that video there was dissent against the foundation of the Federal Reserve. Some of the wealthy banking families were on the Titanic. They were killed that day. I believe one of them was the Allister family, and there was a few other big names that were on the Titanic. And remember, it's a British ocean liner. Do you know who's controlling the war in Iran and movement of oil through the Strait of Hormuz right now? It's not Iran. It's not Israel. It's not the United States. It's the Rothschilds and the reptilian royal family. And how is that? Because I believe it's the firm, I believe is called Lloyd's of London, is the firm that gives insurance to all the ships that are moving through the strait. Now, if you got millions of gallons of oil on your ship and your insurance is dropped, you're not moving through the strait because now you're not insured. It's like getting in a car accident without insurance. You could be sued for massive liability for that. This is why ships are not moving through the strait. It has nothing to do with they're worried about being attacked by Iran. No, their insurance was dropped by Britain. Britain is playing a bigger part in this war right now with Iran than you think. Someone else actually put that together, and they thought of that. They said This has nothing to do with Israel or their safety or nuclear weapons. Lloyd's of London is the one ensuring the ships moving through the strait. You don't have insurance, you ain't moving through the strait. And where do all those high level insurance companies come from? British banking. Yeah, so it wasn't a coincidence. It was a British ocean liner, and that was also a mass human sacrifice. So with the world wars, those are also mass human sacrifices. So we have Albert Pike predicting the three world wars, which will ultimately lead to the ushering in of the Antichrist. We have the invention of the Federal Reserve, and anyone who was opposed to it was killed on the Titanic. Now here's where things get really strange. Again, please share, like, subscribe if you can support the channel, because here's where things are going to start to get a little crazy. Why is it called Jekyll Island? What does Jekyll refer to? It refers to beast. Um, so we have this meeting. Now, this house right here, this is a Rothschild's house. And it was built on a specific site on Jekyll Island. Jekyll Island has something on it called Canaanite blood altars. Specifically, these are called Canaanite child sacrifice altars. Who is the god of Canaanite child sacrifice? That is Molech. You want to know where else there's a theorized another blood altar at? A Canaanite blood altar? Bohemian Grove. What do they do every summer right around this time? They go to the Bohemian Grove and they give child sacrifices to Molech to bless their financial endeavors for the next year. This goes back to George Soros mocking you with abracadabra being used to manipulate world financial markets. He wasn't joking. So yes, there is a Canaanite blood altar on Jekyll Island. The Rothschilds built their house over it. This is where the meeting for the Federal Reserve was held. And you could be damn sure there was child sacrifice going on. Probably cannibalism, adrenochrome harvesting, blood libel. Yeah, sadly, these children weren't just sacrificed to Molech. Their blood was harvested for adrenochrome. They were cannibalized, sexually abused, like Epstein Island. I wouldn't even doubt if there's a Canaanite blood altar on Epstein Island. They're all over the planet, which is another conspiracy. What the hell is a Canaanite altar doing in the United States or the New World? And I'm pretty damn sure this is why people claim that anyone near these altars, the local towns or villages or anything near these blood altars, these Canaanite child sacrifice altars, are usually messed up. Now, if there is one in the Bohemian Grove, that would explain why California is so fucked up right now. It would explain why cities like Atlanta, Georgia are so corrupt right now. Yeah, starts to make a lot of sense. So, who are the Canaanites? And this is where shit gets very strange. Well, Canaanite is rooted, that's a Latin word, and it is also the origins of the word canine. What is the Latin word for canine? That's dog. So who were the Canaanites? This is another separate video I told people I was working on. The Cynocephali. The dogmen. These are not the dogmen that you hear about people encountering in the woods. These are the Cynocephali. They were feared warriors in ancient times. They were the Mongols. They were the berserkers in the Viking pantheon. And according to Marco Polo, who encountered an island of Cynocephali in his travels around India, he said he came to an island and he discovered a group of Cynocephali worshiping a bull-like god. Who was that? I told you. Now, who are the Canaanites? Or the canines? They're the dogmen. But it gets even stranger because the dogmen are just one race of the quote-unquote monstrous races who I believe are also the Nephilim. And this starts to make a lot of sense when it comes to the arcane aspect of this. Yes, Moloch is the Canaanite god of child sacrifice. And he's typically sometimes depicted as a bull. He's depicted with a bull Or this gets even more strange, but it makes a lot of sense. Or he's depicted as having a head like a dog. Going back to the dogmen. Why is it called Jekyll Island? Well, according to mainstream media, I looked this up and I'm not buying the official narrative. The first people to apparently have discovered Jekyll Island off the coast of Georgia were the conquistadors in the 1600s. And they said that they found these blood altars on the island when they first found it, but they claimed that there were giants on the island. Now, I don't believe that. I don't. There may have been giants. There were giants in the United States at this time, but I don't think it was just the giants they encountered. They encountered cynocephali. There are Native American mythologies in the United States of a race of entities stealing their children and sacrificing them. Yeah, it was the cynocephali stealing human children and sacrificing them to Molech. The cynocephali probably saw human children as an abomination to them because they had dog heads and the humans didn't look like them. And this is where things, like I said, it gets very bizarre. So, yeah, the meeting at the Federal Reserve on Jekyll Island with the Rothschilds, it was all about, and this is what Jekyll Island looks like today. It's actually nice. You can go. I believe the old Rothschilds house is a hotel now. Imagine staying in that hotel. That hotel must be haunted, without a doubt. I'm not going to play this video. This was a video that appeared in 1934 about the Rothschilds having it's more or less the Federal Reserve having international bank branches all around the world so they can manipulate world financial markets. But this is where the things get very strange. That Jekyll Island at one time was inhabited, yes, by dogmen who were stealing Native American children and sacrificing them to their Canaanite god Molech. The Rothschilds built a house over this Canaanite blood, and these Canaanite blood altars are all over the world, which lets you know there were a lot of cynocephali on planet Earth at one time. Where did they all go? You often see a lot of people in the alternative media don't know what they're talking about. Some people are trying to associate modern dogmen that are encountered with the cynocephali. They're not the same. Cynocephali were organized. They had villages. There were large groups of them. There were like warrior brigades of them. We don't see that with dogman. Dogman is more demonic. I'll do a video separately on what dogman is. But dogman is not the same as the cynocephali. And at the end of the day, I do believe this is one of the races, many races of what is known also as the Nephilim in the Bible. So yeah, we have the three world wars predicted, with the Third World War ending. That would eventually usher in the Antichrist, the abomination of desolation, being brought in by the synagogue of Satan, otherwise in the book of Revelation, the fake Jews like the Ashkenazi Jews and the Khazarian Mafia, who control banking systems. They're the ones that meet out at quote-unquote Bohemian Grove to sacrifice children to Molech. There's also other screwed up things that go on at Bohemian Grove, like child hunting parties. We know all about it. Then you have places like Epstein Island. And yeah, you have different variations of Molech, where one, he's depicted with a dog's head, which is very interesting. Why are ancient Jews depicting Molech as having a dog's head? And then we have a depiction of Molech where he actually has the head of a bull. And Marco Polo said that he encountered a race of cynocephali on an island off the coast of India that were worshiping a bull-like god. That is Molech. And it makes sense now. You create the petrodollar based off oil. You crash the petrodollar to send a country that depends on the petrodollar into chaos, as they like to call it. And now you could start World War III easier, because to start World War III, you got to deal with the United States. And that's what they're trying to do right now, is destabilize the United States. And this idea, what Trump is calling the golden age, that's a very Luciferian concept. The golden age is a reference to the New World Order. And we don't want to be a part of the New World Order. Live in their 15-minute smart cities. They want to put human civilization back to the fucking Stone Age just so they can usher in the Antichrist. That's why I have no patience for these Luciferian piece of shit losers. Yeah, I'm not. This website ain't important. I just wanted to see what other people in the alternative media were saying about it. They didn't get it right. Do I have it right? I don't know. Now here, I'll pin this as the top comment. The Creature from Jekyll Island. This is a 600-page book that you can read about it. So I'll give you a free link to a free book. This is from archive.org, so no, you are not stealing anything. I will not give you a link to somewhere on the Pirate Bay, or you'd have to have BitTorrent installed to download off the Pirate Bay anyway, but you can download this as a torrent if you want, or as a PDF file, or EPUB, or any way that you read books on your multimedia device. You can download it as a PDF file, full text, EPUB. And this goes into like the meeting at the Federal Reserve on Jekyll Island. It's a 600-page book. I haven't read it, but it's here at Internet Archive. So I'll give you a free book. Yeah, there's a lot of things you can find at Internet Archive for free. So yeah, that's basically it. This is what the meeting at quote unquote Jekyll Island was all about. And then we had the Titanic crash, World War One, World War Two, the petrodollar. Now they're crashing the petrodollar, and this is all by design. Luciferians are not that creative. So once you start to have a little faith and see through their arcane bullshit, but I don't think anyone has made the association that Jekyll is, yeah, that's a reference to the Cynocephali, dogmen, who actually built the Canaanite blood altars. And they are the ones who were sacrificing children to Molech in the Old Testament. I've been doing some research into the Old Testament. I know exactly what is said in there. There's even lines from the Old Testament where we get God telling you not to sacrifice your children to Molech. What did they do when they found the Federal Reserve in this country? Yeah, they sacrificed a bunch of children to Molech. Probably sexually abused them. Blood libel, they harvested their blood, cannibalized them. And basically, our entire financial system is built off the blood of children. And yes, it's highly demonic. This is why Jesus flipped over the bankers' tables in the temple. And this is why they're written about in the book of Revelation. Nothing new under the sun. And these people are going to, there's different layers of hell. You want me to do a video on the different layers of hell? Hades, Asphodel, Elysium, Tartarus. I could do that in the future. So anyway, that's all from I told you this wouldn't be that long of a video because when you got your facts straight, it doesn't need to be. I don't pad my videos with extra bullshit. I don't need to do that. So you want to buy me some cigarettes today? I do not sacrifice children to Molech for financial gain. So I'd appreciate any support I can get. I tell people I'm always trying to raise $33 to get some marijuana, which would be awesome. And I do need cigarettes, though, so I would appreciate it. And that's about all I'm going to do today. Because honestly, now tomorrow, I don't know if you're going to get a video from me. I told people I visit my doctors. I got to go back tomorrow for blood work and a breathing test. I'm going to be pretty cranky in the morning tomorrow because I'm not allowed to wake up and drink any coffee. Among other things, so that means, yeah, no alcohol today, no coffee, no adrenochrome in the morning tomorrow. How am I going to start my day without my adrenochrome? Yeah, well, I'm only joking about the adrenochrome, but seriously, I am getting blood work tomorrow. And that's so I can set up everything to get my surgery. I have a hernia operation coming up, so not going to be in too much of a good mood tomorrow. So anything that you can support me with today would help. And there you go. There goes the history of the Federal Reserve and Jekyll Island. And yes, our financial system was built on the blood of children. The petrodollar was backed by oil for a reason. And this is what the war with Iran is actually about right now. Remember, when you're a Luciferian, you're allowed to lie, cheat, steal, sacrifice. You can do anything you want, but you are going to burn in hell for it. Everything these people tell you in the mainstream is a lie. And then they have the balls to sit there and call you the conspiracy theorist for figuring it out. Yeah, been there, done that. They can't. They can call me anything they want. It has no effect on me anymore. The only thing I get is some Zionist shills showing up to my YouTube channel because when I speak the truth, they will try to crucify you. Oh yeah, sound familiar? Who else spoke the truth and got crucified? Like I said, nothing new under the sun. Anyway, this is the time of year where they're getting ready to go out to Bohemian Grove. They have their little perverted parties. Remember, you can also sign up to my Patreon. I got an hour-long video snuck out of the Bohemian Grove on there. Yeah, it's on my Patreon. Can't put that one on YouTube, though. They'll flag that video. And yeah, this is what George Soros meant by about using alchemy and abracadabra to influence world financial markets. He wasn't joking. Black magic dominates the world, and so does child and human and animal sacrifice. This is what paganism and the New World Order and Babylon is. And no, it is not compatible with being a Christian or just a human in general. Anyway, if you can support the channel, all the links are in the description. Cash App, PayPal, Vemno. Any questions or comments, leave them below. I'll give you a link to this book if you want to read it for free. The Creature from Jekyll Island. Although I doubt the book is actually going to tell you what the Creature from Jekyll Island is, but as you see right there, there is a reptilian right on the cover. That's the American eagle, the symbol of the Alpha Draconian Reptilian Empire. And what's on the building of the Federal Reserve? A reptilian eagle. This all goes right back to the reptilians in Babylon. Nothing new under the sun. Why do you think it's so easy for me to give these lectures? Because I've already gone full reptilian. I started from reptilians and worked my way down. Some people get in this field and they start at the bottom and try to work their way to the top. And by the time they get there, they're afraid to go full reptilian. They think it's going to discredit their research. I started with reptilian, so it's only adding to my research. And the more I find out, the more credible it all winds up being. So anyway, hope everyone's having a good day. Any questions or comments, leave them below. God bless and take care.